Hi guys, welcome to Daily Bible Study. We're here in the Caribbean, sailing towards Honduras, but I wanted to connect with you today in the Lord's Word with our daily reading, which would have been Deuteronomy 28, 29, and 30. Not to say, for those of you who have been reading with us and praying with us throughout the day, at the different hours, at the morning hour, the midday hour, the early evening hour, and then the late evening hour. Thank you for doing that. The thing that the text reveals to us today that I think is most telling is really the faithfulness of God to fulfill what He said He would do with His people. And so in Deuteronomy chapter 30, we're going to read verses 1 through 6. It says, "When all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, and you call them to mind among you, or to mind among all the nations where the Lord your God has driven you, and return to the Lord your God, you and your children, and obey His voice in all that I command you today, with all your heart, with all your soul, then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have mercy on you, and He will gather you again from all the peoples where the Lord your God has scattered you." Now, it goes on further to say in verse 4, "If your outcasts are in the uttermost parts of heaven, from where the Lord your God will gather you, and from there He will take you. And the Lord your God will bring you into the land that your fathers possessed, that you may possess it. And He will make you more prosperous and numerous than your fathers. And the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your offspring, so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, that you may live," right? And so, one of the things that we see in these chapters is a connection between blessing and cursing, right? So the Lord kind of lays things out with Israel throughout this time, that He is either going to bless them or they are going to be filled with cursing. But this chapter kind of connects to what we see in Ezekiel 37, where the dry bones come back to life again, and the connection with Israel becoming a nation again. Some interesting facts to think about, and how this underscores God's faithfulness in our lives. There are about 100 countries where people of Jewish heritage, ethnicity, origin still live. Israel is by far the most, with over 6 million people, according to a poll, the last census in 2021. The next is the United States, but that's significant because a massive portion of Jews came and settled in America during times of crisis during World War II. So what you're seeing now is the nation being restored, which happened when Israel became a nation again. But now we're starting to see an intense affirmation of this text of them going back to the place where God had called them. Now, for me, that kind of illustrates this truth about God's faithfulness, His faithfulness to Israel. But what does that mean for us as believers who have been grafted into this covenant relationship that God started with Abraham? It means that God can be trusted because He's faithful in our lives, right? So as faithful as He is to restore Israel, to bring Israel back, to continue to establish His nation and His blessings, even in a moment where they don't fully recognize Him or Jesus as their Lord, that He is still going to orchestrate the events leading up to that time where they will. And so that should give us encouragement today that God is moving, that God is working in our lives. And so if you're discouraged today, take heart that if He's been faithful to Israel, He's been faithful to fulfill His covenants, even through blessing and cursing, that through Christ, He will still accomplish His purposes in our lives. And so we as believers who are part of the church, this group of believers, the body of Christ, we can be assured of that today. And I hope that encourages you, wherever you're at, whatever you're going through. God can be trusted because He's faithful.